Okay, welcome, everybody. I don't know if we have anybody joining us virtually, but it is exactly 6 PM, and we're calling the Finance Committee to order. We have two of our members that are unable to join us this evening. Bill Vogt has a conflict, as does Ed Lane, and we do have 6 of us here, definitely a majority, so it should not be an issue. We have 2 areas that we need to cover. I don't believe this will be a very long meeting. The first is I circulated an abbreviated set of minutes for the Babytown meeting.
That was abbreviated?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I apologize. And I mean, this is the first meeting we've had to approve them.
It was book length.
It was book length, yeah, exactly.
I'll move their approval.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay, so.
I don't want to
let's
read
see.
them again.
This would be 5, 8. Any discussion at all?
You did a great job.
Thank you. Any discussion? Pam, you'll have to abstain because you were not at that meeting, you know. So, Diane, do you approve?
Yes, there
Okay.
might have been one
Stephen?
typo somewhere,
Yes?
but it was.
Yes? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, so we've got
I did say yes, didn't
5
I?
and 1 abstention. And we had, this is Jim B is motion and Steve Schatz second. Okay, number 3. The principal purpose of this meeting are reserve fund transfers. Every year after we close the books, we do have certain entries that have to be accounted for. And you will recall in the budget, there was 150,000 that was in the budget for reserve fund transfers. And basically, historically, and I'll let Michael correct me, these were approved first by the select board and then brought to the finance committee for approval. Mass General Law, which you showed me, says that the majority of the finance committee can approve these irrespective of the select board.
Right, so just to clarify, there's 2 things that happen at the end of the year. You have reserve account transfers, and then you have departmental transfers that can happen in the last 2 months of the year. The interdepartment transfers, if you're gonna take money from highway to cover, say, town offices, budget item, you have to have approval of the select board first, followed by the finance committee, because that was not the intent of the voters. Reserve transfers are under the authority of the finance committee. The finance committee is authorized to transfer money from reserve account to cover unexpected overrides that happen during the year. Both years prior to this year, we've had interdepartmental transfers. We have none of those this year. We just have the following reserve transfers that'll clean up the books for the year. So I think overall, the finance team and everybody did an excellent job. Just in case, as Jay referred to, I do have a copy of, let's see if I can.
You had a copy of the document, but
Yes.
you know, we can always circulate that if
I
any.
can get you all a copy of it, or this is the city and town districts, February 2026, that outlines transfers out of the reserve require a majority vote of the town finance committee.
There it is.
If it's a city council on the recommendation of the mayor. If it's a prudential committee, it's the prudential committee. And if it's a district, it's the district commissioners. So in a town, the only thing required is a vote of the finance committee. So
There you have it.
I'm one that just prefers to make sure we're doing things the way they should be done. Yeah. So,
Okay.
Can you send that to us?
Yep.
Thank
I
you.
will send everybody a copy.
Great.
Anybody have any questions on this at this point? Okay.
On the law?
No. Any questions on the explanation of?
Oh, no.
No, okay. All right. Moving on, everybody has been circulated the list of reserve fund transfers. There are 26 of them. And I think the most expeditious way to deal with this, should we approve each individually or or do them collectively?
However you would like to go about it.
What's the pleasure of the committee?
Well, I have a lot of individual questions, so I don't want to just take the vote
No,
right
no, we
now.
would go line by line.
I'd like to know some background on a lot of them.
That's fine.
As you see, it said extraordinary or unforeseen in the law, so.
Right.
Okay,
So-
well, let's just have to go through them.
Yeah.
Okay?
So if you can, what I'll do is I'll run through my explanation of a number of these I already had pre-planned to address with you guys. And then if there's any further questions, you can ask me whatever questions you have at that point. So the first two I want to hit are the facilities manager and part-time janitor. As you know, we did some switching around after Chris Marsden had left to join NEMA, and we reconsolidated positions and the rest. One of the things that happened was we had a person out 12 weeks during the year. Had to have surgery twice. I don't want to go more into that because of regulations, but that led to overruns in both those lines, having to bring people in to cover duties that needed to be done to keep town hall and moving forward. As far as town electricity, we have some fluctuating electric bills. I want to point out, we didn't change the budget, but we have converted a number of things to LEDs. So that shouldn't be an issue going forward. The
Question.
fire chief, oh, yes, do you want to?
I have a question on the electricity.
Yep,
We have a solar field over there in the old dump.
yep.
Correct.
I thought that solar field was gonna cover our electrical.
No, never
No.
was.
No,
Pardon?
Never was.
no.
Never.
It covers,
Never.
you would have a lot higher electric bill if you didn't have it.
All right, so
But
is there
it
some way,
doesn't cover,
everything?
yes.
Okay, so how much does it cover?
It depends, so this can be a variable depending on how many solar credits you end up earning during the year. So there's a thing called a Schedule Z. And what it is that we go through and we say that to the electric company, we want the credits to go on the following accounts. So every year we need to look at that Schedule Z and make tweaks to the account. Like right now, we need to go in and change the account because we had quite a bit of our electric credits going towards street lighting. And now because we've switched over the street lighting to LED, that's gonna go down. So you wanna make sure that you're not putting too many credits in any one, but it's a constant moving. It can depend on your winter, how much they're covered, how little they're cut. There's a bunch of variables that go
I
into it.
understand that.
But it was never intended to cover the whole thing. What it does is it helps offset a good chunk of your bill. So, like I said, with LED conversions and the rest, we didn't increase budget. We think that we're gonna be fine as far as both the street lighting line, which was over by 6,700, and the electricity for town buildings, that was over 2,200. Overall, that's not a lot of our overall cost, and I think it'll be okay. The fire chief was the new contract that the select board entered into the chief last year. So there were changes to his contract
After,
after the budget was approved. Yeah. Council on Aging, I will admit that the Council on Aging salary, when I budgeted last year, and originally we had taken out the count, I had an error in my spreadsheet. It's completely my fault.
Which one was that, the compactor?
No, Council on Aging.
Aging.
Council on Aging salary ended up being not included in the budget last year. And because most of the year we didn't run with a Council on Aging director, it actually didn't affect us. It was put back into this budget. I remember at one point during one of our meetings, I mentioned that, but that was completely on my fault. I corrected the error in the spreadsheet and it was corrected before this year's town meeting. So that was a one-time blip. It's completely my responsibility on that one. The compactor salaries was our compact attendant under the collective bargaining agreement of 3 years ago. We had put in some incentives for people if they were to get licenses that would help with our overall operation. The transfer station attendant ended up getting their hoisting license, which meant that they got a raise, which then affected the compactor salary. So that's why that's up $1,800.
What license was that?
Hydraulics.
I know.
Yep. That allows them when they're coming in to load stuff, use the front end loader and the rest.
That's Mark? right? Yeah, he does a very fine
Yeah.
job.
Yeah, he does.
Excellent.
You know, we ended up with quite a few repairs, chemical costs at one point got out of control as far as the water department. There was a shortage, you had to order. We did increase those budget items for the 2024 budget, but we saw some pretty dramatic changes in costs during the year. So, those are my overall explanation for what happened within these budget items. And if there's any specific questions, we can delve into those.
I have a
Yeah, I do
question.
too.
One second.
I'm just saying.
On the ice, snow and ice expenses. What was the original budget on that? We used to be like 90 and 100.
And we're 100,000 still, and
We overspent that by 12,000 this last year?
yeah,
Okay.
and we've overspent the last like 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
Now, one thing with snow and ice, if you ever increase snow and ice, that's your new minimum
Right.
that you have to budget.
And you can't
If there is some
forecast
belief
that, you
that
know.
winters are
No, I
gonna get,
understand.
winters aren't as bad. If you ever go down, you can't go down, so.
Well, we
I'm
budgeted-
willing to just leave it where it is and it ends up. Now, it is the one item that we don't have to cover with reserve transfers. You can just float that on your tax rate for the following year. It's the one item that they've recognized.
Well, but
never
it's
know
not,
what it'll
it's not a continuing expense.
Right.
It fluctuates,
It fluctuates.
you know. So
And
it's
just
hard to
by
budget.
storms and other stuff can really fluctuate a lot. But we've taken a number of measures from, so 3 of our trucks now are calibrated and have monitoring devices on them to monitor the amount of salt that was put down. That was not there 3 years ago, so those are the 3 new white trucks. Every one of them, we ordered them, we got the thing. So what we want to do is minimize the amount of salt that's going on, but maximize the efficiency of the salt going down. What this does is you don't end up with piles of salt in certain places and not in others by using technology.
Just an aside before we call on Georgia to ask her questions, the Farmer's Almanac calls for a very heavy snow year this year. Not that they know anything, not that anybody knows anything, but that's what,
We're going to remember you said that.
that's what they're going, okay?
Now, we're gonna blame
I'm-
you instead of the farmers.
I'm not a meteorologist, so,
El Nino is still very strong.
Well, we only budgeted 90
Georgia.
for snow and ice, so,
Oh, 90 for snow, yeah.
yeah, we only budgeted 90.
90,
So
yeah.
that's not bad at all.
No, I understand.
I have several questions, so I don't,
Sure.
sorry. So the treasurer collector certification fee, I noticed that we budgeted, for last year, we only budgeted once.
Yep, we corrected that for 2024.
Right, so, but when did Erica get her certification? Was she already certified
She already
when she was here?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yep.
All right, I'll accept that. The computer technology, computer service contract? I mean, we budgeted $120,000 and now they want over $10,000 more?
So, let me call
just so you know, this is, from a corporate business standpoint, this is a toughie. You know, everything dealing with the computers. My son, just an aside, is one of the national specialists in cyber liability insurance and deals with a number of Lowe's and a number of the major organizations. And it's a nightmare, absolute nightmare. You know, there's no way to, very
Yeah.
difficult to deal with it budget wise.
And it can be at times as far as doing that. I will point out that we've been pulling this number down. So we budgeted 120 last year. We ended up spending 130. If you look back in 2020, we spent 156. We spent 138 in 21. And in 22, we spent 138. So we actually spent this year less than we have the last 3 years. Wasn't quite where we want to be as far as budgeting. So we've changed some of the contracts and that's what,
I guess
overall, we've lowered it, but I haven't been able to, I remember asking this question of Jay when I first, that the budget was 156 and then got cut. They spent 156 and then you cut the budget to 100. the year Mark Weber was here.
It's-
And I'm not sure why 50,000 was taken out, but it's obviously shouldn't, I don't know what happened there.
Would you-
And we've been playing catch up ever since.
But if we have a contract, I guess,
When you talk about budget, are you talking about increased time? Are you talking about hardware? Are you talking about increased software? I mean, where do we focus in on some
So
of
a
this
couple of
stuff?
things that we had to do is we had to bring in last year was called two-step authentication. This was required by Maya for all external computer use. So we had to add some of that to our contract, which wasn't originally there. If not, Maya wasn't going to cover us under the cybersecurity.
That's for virtual work.
Yeah, and what they wanted, we had single step verification and they required that in order to be covered under the cyber insurance policy, you had to have two-step authentication whenever using of any type of remote access into the servers. So that was one thing that we had to adjust last year. So we had some adjustments along the way, but this one has been a little bit of in fluctuation for the last couple of years as I tried to understand exactly what happened when I first got here. I think I've got it well under control, and I actually didn't increase the budget because I am expecting overall the costs to come down as far as the changes that we've made going along. So, yeah.
Does that answer it?
yeah, I'll take, okay.
Okay.
And then could you tell me what the other charges and expenses are under tree warden?
Just the amount of trees that we had to take down.
But then we have tree removal, but then this is, you covered some of that under other charges?
I actually don't understand why we have two separate lines in that. You know, if we brush cut, if we cut some trees, it's just the overall cost of, just bills that were charged against it. It was all tree and brush removal. That's all we ended up.
He's also.
Both accounts were.
It was also as a result of storms that have, and the
No,
actual.
it's actually, no, that's.
No?
It's just been, so one of the things that happens is when we get a report of a dead tree, and as soon as we're informed of a tree, we add it to the list. And once you're informed of a tree that is in danger, the first thing is if the tree comes down and breaks something, such as we had a tree branch come down and take out the sign.
We got a liability problem.
The first thing you put your tree thing into your insurance company, and the first thing they said, were you notified
Right.
at any point prior that this tree was a danger? And if we haven't taken prudent steps, which can be right now because there is a backlog of, taking down trees. So we're keeping a list as they come in and we're getting them done as quickly as possible, but there are not a lot of tree services out there and they're pretty much all working. I mean, we call numerous of them to get them on the list.
They're consolidating also.
Yeah,
Okay.
and so it becomes one of those things, it's like, Mark, if we have dangerous trees, we cannot afford to not take them down. So those are the two. We charge both those accounts are almost all, they're just tree removal. So maybe I should have just run tree removal by itself into the negative by another 600. It was just how we put in the bills, but they were almost they're all tree removal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else,
And
George?
we've had a lot.
Oh, I just want to note that this reserve fund is for unforeseen and extraordinary circumstances, and it's not a carte blanche to these
No,
offices.
absolutely.
I mean, I just,
Yeah. That's what the reserve fund is for.
I know.
On the
I just
other hand, if it's not spent, what happens?
goes towards our free cash.
It goes back into free cash?
Yeah. Yep.
One question I would have, or you're still,
I was going to say something else, but that's okay.
when we had that last storm, the trees that were in so many places that fell over, and I know on 183,
Yeah.
where I am, it blocked the road. They were out there after midnight. The National Grid was up on the pole up there. There were 7 trucks in line after midnight. those trees that were down, I called you Paige, and he came to take a look because they were still kind of in the road.
Yeah.
That what I had that went over, what do you put that under when those trees needed to be taken out and then taken away?
Hugh works with the tree warden, those are usually
So
done
he,
through the tree account.
so that goes,
Yeah. So I would argue most of these, whether it's the tree, the other ones, those were unexpected. We didn't expect to get hit with the two-step authentication.
okay,
I would argue that most of these do hit, that they were not at the time we were putting the budget together.
Right.
Anticipated costs to happen.
No,
We weren't
absolutely
expecting
not.
chemical costs to go the way they did and that. So
Okay.
I think that is, how you want to define that extraordinary. I think compared to the last 2 years too, you're seeing a lot less transfers than we had the last couple of years, so.
And also vehicle maintenance, there's no way to,
We're anticipating overall some of those expenses are gonna come down as we flip some of the.
we have
fleets.
newer vehicles.
And we have
Yeah,
newer vehicles.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Okay.
As a percentage of the overall budget, these transfers are less.
Nothing.
Are less, they're not even a rounding error.
Exactly,
I understand.
It's 1/10 of 1%
exactly. But
of the budget. I'm not saying that
But
the questions
people
are inappropriate, but I'm
could
just saying, I'm just suggesting that
Exactly.
in terms of the way that the town manages this budget, these are rounding errors. That's all they are. I don't think there's any philosophical issues here.
I
of
don't
any
think so
kind.
either, but I have another question, and that is, under project administration fees under debt service, what was that for?
Which one, sorry?
It says project administration fees, debt service.
oh. Down, farther down,
That service.
it's above all the water stuff.
it says
that's-
debt service project administration fees.
So when we were calculating the debt payments, there was an administrative fee charged onto the debt that we took on last year with some of the bills that we had. If I remember right, I can get the answer for that. I believe it was through the abatement trust. It might have been that we had an administrative fee that wasn't budgeted correctly. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay,
Okay, anything else?
I will move the approval of all of these items.
I'll second.
There are 26 items. Okay, no, just 1 second. So we say Schatz moves, Belfast second, 26 requests. Okay, is there any discussion or questions? At this point, we'll call a vote. Diane?
Yes?
Yes?
Steve, yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
That is, would be 6-0. Approved. Okay, any other business to come before this committee? This would be a record meeting. What time do you have officially? 6:25? 6:24. There being no other business to come before this before this committee, I would move an adjournment at 6:24 PM.
so moved.
Okay.
Okay, can you give us some idea as to what the future looks like as far as our responsibilities are concerned? When do you anticipate we will next have to meet? Are we looking at January?
No, you have, based on what I know right now, you're going to have the issue with the school merger that's going to come up, that we'll have to have a meeting before, a public town meeting on that subject to talk about it, to talk about our position. So yes, I think that's supposedly in the fall, right?
So right now.
The high school?
The Regional School District Planning Committee made its initial vote to approve the merger of the 8 towns. It goes to DESI, who then looks over the final piece. They make any slight adjustments, and then it comes back to us if there's any adjustments for a vote. That will kick off a 90-day timeline, which within 90 days,
Town meeting.
all the towns have to hold a town meeting and vote on the merger. So that will be happening. I'm anticipating by the end of this month, we will have that vote in place and the 90-day timeframe will be ticking to a special town meeting.
But it'll be just whether we merge or not. It's no financial.
There is no financial.
No, so I mean, it's.
So we wouldn't have to
need-
meet, right? As a finance committee?
Yeah.
No,
There's no financial issue.
there's no financial issue.
Well,
So the next vote after that, once the
Would be
merger
the
vote
financials.
happens, there is a time frame that starts, which would then be for our annual town meeting, because it would fit within it, for the bond vote.
Right.
Now, that is where the finance committees will all be expected to weigh in on the bond vote that would then happen. So there's a two-phase, one is, yes, let's merge the district, then you have to have the vote on building the new school. So,
the new high school,
two-pronged
yeah.
it's a two-pronged process, and the second prong will definitely involve the finance committees. The first one, I mean, there's nothing stopping you guys from getting together, but there is no vote on, it is just merging the district at
Okay.
that point.
And the second meeting may not occur unless the.
I can't hear you.
The MSBA approves
Well, the second one won't.
this
happen.
project
Right,
for funding.
yep. And if the 8 towns don't approve it, then it's done right there.
That's right.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I understand what you said, but the thing that jumps in my mind is voting on a merger of a school district has to involve finances.
Well, the funny part is that, remember, the first
How is this
merger does
merged?
not mean you're building a new school yet. The first vote is that you're merging the school district in anticipation of the second vote passing. And then if the second vote doesn't pass, the whole thing falls apart again. So it's a two-pronged vote. First is just the concept of a merged school district. The second one is the funding of
The high school bond.
So we're voting on the concept,
Of
not,
merge.
Not the
fact.
budget for
You're
the
voting,
merger.
you are voting to
Right.
merge
Okay.
the district.
Right.
But then the next vote, the bonding vote, is the final piece, and you have to have both votes.
Please understand, I'm not against it, I'm just wanting to clarify.
that's fine.
that, That's, yeah. Okay.
Okay, anything else? We're 6:29 at this point.
It all involves finances.
Okay?
So we're not going to see each other until January.
Good.
Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying that at all. Things come up, okay?
Well, the only
You're
thing
not gonna
that,
have that pleasure.
I would argue the only thing that could change is if the selectmen put something financial on the special town meeting.
Well, tell them to do something else.
How do I create a citation for a member of the committee? Is there any procedure for that? Or? Okay, that's it, folks. Thank you very much.